Hey guys, John from Scottsdale Living. Welcome to the podcast. Really excited today to have Amy and Trevor with the Wine Girl. A lot of you guys probably are familiar with them, been in town since 2020. Thanks for being here, guys. And so where does it come from? I mean, how do you come up with the Wine Girl?
You want to go?
Well, my wife and I have always been very avid wine drinkers,
Sure.
and we love all wine bars, and we always had traveled the country with different companies that we had. And we always found ourselves looking up the nearest wine bars in every city that we go to. And we found that all the wine bars are typically very similar. So we
Kinda
always,
stuffy, right?
Yeah, kind of stuffy, same type of vibe.
Yeah.
And we were always wondering like why we couldn't or find one that had a fun vibe, basically.
Right.
Something that was our kind of style and how we, just a place where we would actually want to go and not only drink wine, but also hang out.
An approachable space to drink wine, good wine in.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of the good vibes around town or other places we've been, other cities where there's good wine, the vibe's always not
Well,
there.
funny,
it's always
right?
missing one of those things.
100%. Yeah. It's like, I mean, I'm with you guys. Like I love wine too. And going into your place is a totally different experience than going into, a wine bar in DC Ranch or something, right? It's so laid back and chill and fun, but the crazy part with that is like being right in Old Town. So I got to imagine the bachelorette party thing is pretty crazy.
They definitely gravitated towards our aesthetic.
Sure.
I can say that. And the name Wine Girl obviously has its own connotation, I guess you could say.
Sure.
But we didn't set out for that. It just so happened to be that kind of transition time frame when Scottsdale was becoming such a big bachelorette destination. Totally. I think it just kind of lined up in that way because we do have another one, a Wine Girl out in Napa Valley, which
kind of new, right?
Yeah, we opened last April was our
cool.
This April will be our first year anniversary. We do get some bachelorette parties out there, but it's nowhere near the amount of Scottsdale or you'll think of Austin or Nashville that get crazy amounts of bachelorette parties. Totally. So I think our concept would gravitate towards that type of party.
Sure.
But we get a ton of different clientele out in our Napa Valley store, and we love seeing the different diversity and the different types of people that love the concept.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's probably important to get across, right? Because I think some people get confused and think it's just like a destination wine bar rather than you can go in there and hang out and have a glass of wine anytime, right?
Yeah, this is an interesting space because we do get so many bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
So if you're local that maybe just stopped in on a random Saturday and there's
30 girls in there going crazy.
Going crazy.
Yeah.
It's definitely a different vibe. Weekdays, not as crazy loud music.
Sure.
And we do have great wine. So it's different vibes from weekdays to the weekend, I would say.
Totally. And it is cool to see the differences between our two locations too.
Sure.
Because even on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the Napa store is crazy also, but it's a different type of crazy. It's more so
the wine drinker.
Yeah, the wine drinkers, a lot more locals. But Napa Valley is obviously a worldwide destination for tourists. So we do get a lot of tourists at our Napa store also. But it's cool to see the different demographics that you see in the different locations. So it reaffirmed to us that the idea and the concept wasn't just bachelorette party. You know what I mean? So we always knew, and when we started for the first year, we weren't. I mean, it was in the middle of COVID, which was a crazy time. Yeah, but it wasn't like straight up bachelorette parties. It was a lot more locals, a lot the tourist crowd that comes into Old Town. So it just kind of morphed into a lot of bachelorette parties. Just because people really like the concept.
The beginning of COVID, Arizona was always way more open than anywhere else.
Yeah, right.
So they were all still coming.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I feel like that played into it.
So I got to ask, I see it, I don't know if it's still out there, but I see it all the time, is the little Suzuki that you guys decked out. So where does that come from? I mean, because that's so fun, actually.
I actually bought it off my best friend.
Did you really?
So he had it in his garage for 10 years, just sitting there. Never drove it, and we always wanted it.
Yeah, and I saw it in there with dust on it, and I was like, I need that.
Yeah, totally deck it out.
Yeah, we wanted to restore it. So, and the funny story is I bought it off my best friend, and he bought it off his little brother's best friend. So they were the original owner. His grandpa bought it, used to drive it in South Lake Tahoe. And when I bought it, it had like the Tahoe plates on it and everything. So we just restored it, brought it back to, our vibe and our style that fits Wine Girl. And it's just, a cute little Barbie car. She wanted it. So we wanted to.
It's kind of like iconic in Old Town, right?
Yeah. People
when
love
you see it, it's crazy.
It's gotten to a point now where I tell her I don't like bringing it down to the bar because we'll park it in front and girls just see it and they just climb all over it.
Yeah, right.
Like I spent a ton of money on
it. They do. I'm like, would you just climb into a random classic car?
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine just climbing into some other person's
with their
car.
high heels on the
high heels
redone leather.
Taking pictures and decking it out.
Yeah. So I said, you know what? If I'm not going to be sitting on the patio basically saying, no, you can't jump in here, then I don't. It's tough to bring down because it doesn't have a roof.
Right.
It's very easy to just jump in.
Oh, yeah,
take
totally.
Pictures.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. It's like its own little traveling Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So is this the first business you guys have owned?
No, we've done quite a few others. I mean, I invented a belt buckle that carries your credit cards and IDs, and we were on Shark Tank, and so we travel the country selling those together. Also, all kinds of serial entrepreneur stuff. I had a car rental company, just all kinds of boring stuff. But this is the most fun and the one that we love doing the most.
Right.
So we're excited about it.
So what do you find? Because we talk to small business owners all the time, right? What was the biggest hurdle? I mean, probably besides COVID. COVID must have been a mess, right?
COVID was a nightmare.
Yeah. Because you guys were kind of planning pre-COVID, right?
Oh, totally.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a gutted rectangle that from with a power box from 1970.
Sure.
So we got that space gutted, built it out ourselves with every dollar we had. My dad framed it out. My brother and Trevor built most of it.
Yeah.
And we got our certificate of occupancy in March.
We went to sign for it in March 2020. We signed our lease in August 19, so before anything was happening with COVID.
Right.
So we broke ground in early December. By March, we were basically ready to start getting our final permits.
Yeah, and right around end of March, April is when everything kind of shut the world down. Right?
Yeah, right when they canceled spring training, I started freaking out because obviously the two businesses, bars and gyms, were like the ones that were like ex-nade you can't go to, and we're like, great, here we are.
Yeah,
just spent every dollar we had, maxed out every credit card building it, and can't even open.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully we're here, right? So if you'd been in California somewhere else, it might have been a train wreck. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Our first day open was the first day all bars and restaurants could reopen.
Sure.
So May 11th, and then it was weird for a year and limitations and stuff, but we were still so lucky to live here.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
thankfully, because it could have been. I know a lot of friends and family and that were in the hospitality industry that had to fold, out. Because I'm from the Bay Area, because I'm from about 30 minutes from Napa, and so many restaurants and bars and businesses folded out there. So we're blessed to have been out here.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a crazy little journey, right? So outside of the COVID thing, did you really have something to model off of? Because I mean, you had the antithesis, I don't want to be that. But did you have something in mind that you were going to build too?
I mean, I think we all kind of pick things when you have ideas, things that inspire you. If you could, whether it's a coffee shop, I know she had a bunch of coffee shops that she really liked. Just our vibe and our style, in our house, it's kind of the same color palettes and everything. And I mean,
I think also with our other company that we used to travel to, we've been to every country music festival across the country.
Oh wow, okay.
Our booths there, which is a completely different kind of business, but our booths were always a vibe. People would stay around our booth
just to
with our
out.
Music and all that while people were performing.
Yeah.
Oh,
we would
cool.
always have just people around. And so I think making sure we had a good vibe in here all the time, no matter who was working, if we weren't in the building, I think that's
kind of the magic that I think that we've done it with other companies, and it's an intangible. It's something you can't really describe.
Yeah, totally.
So it's more just you got it. You try your best to replicate that, and I think we've got a great GM out in Napa who's done a very good job, carrying that on. Because when we go out there, we get out about 3-4 days a month, and when we go, it's just the same. We love it. We walk in, and it's something that we now know that we can replicate.
Absolutely.
We're growing. So
is that a game plan? I mean, you guys want to have a whole bunch of them?
Yeah, we just signed our third city
Congrats,
lease 2 days ago.
We're
not going to announce it. Hopefully, about 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to do a big announcement on the city that we're going to. But we're excited about it. This one's big, and,
really cool.
Yeah,
and you guys own them all, right? There's no franchising or anything like that.
Just us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Exciting.
Just us right
That's
now.
exciting. That's a little crazy, right?
Yeah. It definitely, there's a lot more stress when you do that involved. But I mean, I think the fruits of the labor are a lot larger.
Yeah. And I mean, so labor's hard everywhere, right? I mean, is that kind of the consistent thing? I mean, would you say, is that the most difficult thing in your business? Staffing or?
It's absolutely the ongoing, continuous, never ending.
Yeah. I mean, I think any
problem.
Business owner would say that the most important thing is your labor, your staff, and getting good people. Our thing is our concept we can run with very little people in the building, which makes it a little bit easier because, you'll go into restaurants and they'll have 50, 60 more people working in the
building.
Plus,
they're rolling on a sommelier that kind of makes you feel like an idiot half the time too,
and we can run a lot of our days with 1 or 2 people in the building, which makes it easier, but still, you live and die on your employees and making sure you have good people that can carry that brand.
So. Yeah. So how do you guys approach the wine itself? I mean, is that just a journey? You head to Napa or just local wine distributors, or how do you decide what to bring in?
I'd say this is more of a Trev question.
Yeah, but I grew up a little bit outside of wine country, so I've been going for 20 years, and we her and I both have the same type of tasting palette, what we like. Mm-hmm. But that's not to say that what we like is what anybody else is going to like, right? So that does make it a little tough, but what we started with is what we know. So kind of West Coast wines. Mm-hmm. Anything from Paso to Napa, Sonoma, Oregon, Washington. But we do obviously carry a bunch of different wines, different European wines, South American.
I think why we're a little different is we have a lot of wines on tap.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
that's cool. Yeah.
We have 8 red and 8 white. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of dependent on, for the wines on the tap, those are like
a little bit more limited.
Who's kegging?
Yeah, totally.
And who will keg for us. So it's, as we grow, it is cool that we're able to strike some deals. Like One Hope.
It's volume, right?
Yeah. One Hope just started kegging just for us alone. So we carry their rosé, which is pretty cool. For stuff like that to keep happening as we grow is really like what excites us.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, and again, your volume is going to give us a lot more buying power, you know, and when we walk into wineries and, we have 3, 4, 5, 10 locate or more, it'll get a lot easier to do some really fun stuff with the kegged wine.
Sure.
That kegged wine was something that she was very passionate about from the start. It's just a very green concept, saving a ton of bottles.
Yep.
I mean, I think we just calculated recently that we've saved, over 35, 40,000 bottles since we've opened now.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I actually just put the stats together because like World Recycling Day is coming up.
Yeah.
And it is pretty crazy because each keg holds 26 bottles.
Oh, wow.
And then there's some crazy stat, like, I don't even want to say it, but I'll forget. But like some crazy amount of glass doesn't even get recycled, really.
Oh, yeah, totally.
So,
it ends up floating around in places.
Yeah.
It's a mess,
So we calculated and it was over 30,000.
Yeah. It was,
bottles?
I think it was about 36,000 bottles so far. And we actually just, she didn't make it out to Napa last week, but I was out with a new employer of ours, and we were doing some really cool stuff out in the actual kegging facility itself out in Sonoma. And something that they even told us, I don't think you heard, obviously recycling in itself sounds like it's a very green thing.
Sure.
But the amount of energy it takes, they were telling us, these are some new facts that he was telling me. I was like, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Like the amount of energy it takes to run the boiler to melt all of those glass bottles is like insane. So these kegs
it's kind of
save a ton of energy.
Geeky, but it is
sense.
cool. It's like all the glass bottles,
to
the
be
foil,
able to do that.
the corks.
Well, it's kind of like the electric car argument, right? Like, I mean, electric cars are great, but you got to build them.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
And all that mining and all that stuff. So
totally.
there's like that break-even point, which is
there's also, we've been to so many, we've ordered so many nice glasses of wine out at restaurants and the bottle's gone bad.
Yeah.
So
totally.
there's really the nitrogen just pushes it down each time you pull. So there's really no,
always a fresh pour.
Yeah.
So it's there's a lot of good to it, but it does limit because there's not a ton of wineries that are kegging their products. So we are limited to that. But we have like Amy said, we have 16 taps, but we obviously do sell bottles. We have a reserve list. We do glasses of wine off our Coravin, which is like nicer bottles because they're not at right now. There's a lot, not a lot of wineries putting a lot of good wine in keg. So we do still have those options. And obviously all our bubbles and everything, we've tried the bubbles on tap. It doesn't really work that well for us. So we obviously sell a ton of bottles.
Yeah, totally.
But for the most part, our taps are by the glasses.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So tell me a little bit about the bachelorette business again. We'll circle back there because I'm always intrigued by it because it's so much money. It comes into Scottsdale. So how did you guys come up with do you partner with AZ Party Bikes, those guys, or how do you develop that part of the business?
Yeah, they obviously there's a lot of companies in Old Town that work really well with one another.
Sure.
They complement each other very well, like the Champagne train. I'm sure you've seen the big
bus, we've
the party
seen
bikes.
Since we've been open, so many bachelorette type of catered companies pop up just in the amount of time we've been open.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
And then it does, and we do work really well together. So it does, like I said, it complements a ton of different complementary businesses in Old Town. I think that there could be more if people
more experience.
Yeah, it's a learning process. So.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So what do you do for the bachelor parties? I mean, and is that something that you also do for corporate events? I mean, are you looking for that kind of stuff, or is it more just to come on in and have a glass of wine?
I think both.
Yeah, both. We do really have people buy out our space because it is a cute little quaint space.
Sure.
I
would love to get some more of that, but yeah.
We do a ton. Ironically, yesterday we had a big event buyout for its spring training right now. So there was a company out on the East Coast that does a lot of customization for the MLB wives.
Right.
So they had a whole
that's a cool experience
in our bar all day long, and there was 100 Major League Baseball wives that were coming in, seeing all the different customization stuff. So anything from company. Buyouts. We've done a ton of bridal showers, baby showers, obviously the bachelorette parties, birthdays. I mean, we've done so much. I mean, we've done podcasts.
Yeah.
In our bar, we had the Real Housewives podcast in there. So that was
cool.
About a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that thing's still going
because it's just it's such a like she said, it's a really cool, quaint space. It's a great location right there on Scottsdale Road, and it's just set up to be open, kind of like the new open floor plan in homes now.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So how do you approach it? Because wine's always been stuffy, right? So you get the guy that comes to the table, he kind of acts like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And
terrible.
I know, right? So you go and, whether you're Dominic's or Steak 44 or whatever, that guy's always the arch nemesis, and he's always pushing the $500 bottle on you.
Yeah.
So, how do you approach that with people that come in that they're not wine connoisseurs, but they kind of want to get after it, but they don't know where, what to do?
It's funny.
The next generation of wine drinkers is
pretty chill.
People that are coming. They know they don't know, they don't have knowledge, but they want to get into wine. Everyone drinks
and they don't
wine
feel
now.
Dumb,
Even 21-year-olds drink wine now.
Yeah. So we're millennials and the Gen Zs that are coming up now, where it's such a big growth segment of the alcohol industry.
Sure.
But we haven't ever seen a ton of wineries themselves or any real wine bars that are marketing towards the next generations of wine drinkers. Because I don't foresee, there's always going to be a place. I love all wine bars. I don't want to act like I don't I love them all.
Oh yeah,
because that's all I drink is wine. I don't drink anything else. So I'll go to any wine bar. But when you talk about growth and the next big market, how do you capture that? I think that our concept does it very well. I think the millennials and the Gen Zs really love the space.
Right.
It makes them comfortable. I kind of joke sometimes a lot of the times with my som friends. We're the anti-soms wine bar.
Right.
But I have a ton of som friends. They love Wine Girl. I love them, but I've always been kind of off-put by when I go into a wine bar, somebody coming to me and telling me what I should be drinking.
Yeah, totally.
Versus, let me taste some things. I'll order what I like. And, and that's with our customers. I'm a major majority of them don't know much about wine, and I don't want to push things on them and make them feel uncomfortable.
Sure. So as you guys expand, you go into Napa, which obviously that's a really logical place to head to next, So how hard is it to kind of replicate the experience, to feel everything? Because it's a different crowd, 100%.
Oh, it's worlds different.
Yeah.
Worlds different.
It's crazy.
But what we found is like I said, they still love the vibe and it's a completely different demographic of people.
Sure.
But
people in Napa still want to have fun.
Yeah.
And there really
totally
is.
Yeah.
It is crazy if you think about us just going from here, opening in downtown.
Let's open Napa Valley.
But we saw this beautiful space right on First Street, and we're like, how do we make this work?
Sure.
And lo and behold, look, there's still people out there that want to have a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Right.
So
you'd be
we're
surprised.
definitely shaking things up on the block, I think.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. Making the crowd a little nervous, are you?
We're definitely very, very different in Napa and Sonoma. But again, people love it. We get so many compliments from so many people in the industry. They're like, we needed this. Oh, it's just such a breath of fresh air. Even our landlord out there, his family's been out there and developed all of Napa, and they absolutely love us. And even though they're more of the old school type.
Yeah.
And some of the things we do, they're not necessarily all on board with, but I think they trust us, and I think we get along very, very well, and they're very happy that we came on board with them.
So. Yeah. No, we were happy to hear that they were like, they liked our concept, and they're like, downtown doesn't need another tasting room. There's 80.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So how did you end up in Scottsdale? I mean, was it like you picked this to open Wine Girl, or you were here, so we're going to open Wine Girl?
Back when we did our other company, we love Scottsdale, and it was kind of a jump off point rather than being all the way in Bay Area.
Sure.
So we just made the leap and moved here 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 2017. So we didn't move here to do Wine Girl.
Yeah. So we were already out here.
It was more, this was back when we moved. This is when Scottsdale was cheap.
Yeah, right.
Now it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
but I remember sitting on my couch with her, and I was living in Walnut Creek at the time in the East Bay. And I'm like flipping through, I don't know, Zillow, and I'm like, look at these prices. These
crazy,
are a joke.
Yeah.
It's obnoxious. Yeah. But we're talking, you can get stuff in the hundreds.
Right. Yeah.
100, 200 grand. I'm like,
what are we doing here?
Yeah, 100%.
And we were traveling all the time, so we were never home in our house in the Bay. So and like she said, we love Scottsdale's just a happy place for us. It's just such vacation vibes every day. And
I know, it's great.
And then it was back then the money savings. I mean, we come here and there's people rolling around in golf carts.
Yeah,
that's like,
but
that's not normal.
We moved out here though, and definitely didn't have any plans of opening a bar.
Yep.
It was crazy though. One day we were like, it sucks that like when we could open our dream business, which would be a wine bar, like when the money's right, like the time of our life won't be right. Maybe you'll have kids by then, blah, 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 blah. A week later, we drove by on Scottsdale Road and saw a for lease sign, and Trevor instantly called the number, and it just went from there.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know what we were doing. I didn't even know what the first step was. I mean, I have friends that have been in the bar and restaurant business. Don't know how to liquor. I mean,
he's very much
we got our liquor license on Craigslist. Who would have thought they sold them?
On Craigslist.
I'm like, I didn't know. I just started just messing around, and I didn't know how much rents were. But
was it from like a Nigerian guy or
no? Actually it was off a golf course.
Turned
in
out
North
legit.
Scottsdale.
Oh wow, okay.
Ours off of So, but again, it's just kind of just because you don't know how to do something or know the first step. I've always been just somebody that just
keep moving forward.
Yeah, you just figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, the other people that have done it made it work, so why can't I?
Yeah.
So it was just like, we'll figure it out.
Right, totally. Yeah. So is that a stressful time in life? Like, I mean, how quick because stuff rents pretty quick in Scottsdale, so I imagine you had to make a decision pretty fast.
Yeah.
Well, that was stressful.
We were lucky again. They took a chance on us versus somebody else that was looking at.
Yeah, because you're coming in with no plan, no experience.
Yeah, we all put in, our letter of intents and our concept, and they all had experience.
Right.
And then we had to talk our way into property management and just saying like, hey, this is who we are. This is the concept. Did some renderings. This is what we want to build. This is our dream. And they ended up choosing us, and thank God they did, because here we are.
Yeah. Good for you guys. That's pretty cool. That's a little crazy though, but I mean, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So what was the next step going to Napa? Like, I mean, did you guys just say, hey, this is killing it, so let's go somewhere else and do it again?
Yeah, we wanted to expand. We wanted Austin. Just riding the Bachelorette train.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
But we still keep an eye out there, and we're not willing to go much bigger than we are here.
Sure.
So, and then we want to be in a certain space. And
how
nothing's
big
opened
is
up.
your space, by the way?
Our Scottsdale store is a little over 1,200 square feet. So it's a smaller space. Our Napa store is about 1,700.
Okay.
So it's a little bigger, but we don't want, I feel it, as you get into bigger spaces, it's hard to control that experience.
Oh, 100%.
So we want to keep it the same so we can replicate it.
Sure.
And because it's something that we know we can do now.
Mm-hmm.
But like she said, we have a list of cities that we're looking at.
Yeah.
And Napa was on there, but we never envisioned Napa being number 2 because on that list are a lot of cities that are very similar.
Right.
But Napa was the one that we knew we should probably have one in at some point just to start the connections with the, with the wineries themselves and just wine industry. But this just so happened to be, we've flown out to a ton of different cities, looked at spaces, and the spaces just were too big.
Mm-hmm.
They were not in the right locations.
Sure.
This just happened where this was actually a crazy story is this wasn't even the space we flew out to look at in Napa.
Mm-hmm.
We actually flew out to look at a space in St. Helena, which is about 20, 30 minutes north of Napa.
Sure.
And when we got there, the agent didn't tell us that she had already rented half the space.
Oh, that's cool.
So we flew all the way out there. The meeting lasted all of 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, half the space is gone. So she had never been to downtown Napa before because downtown Napa, they just redeveloped. So now there's a ton of amazing hotels, restaurants. But when I was growing up and going out to wine country, nobody went to Napa.
Right. Yeah.
It was like you drove past it as quickly as you could.
Through,
But I go, we're already out here. On the way back to the airport, let's drive downtown Napa on First Street.
And they had it for lease
drive
sign?
down and there was a lease sign. And I was like,
so we've found both of our...
So this is twice, right?
Yeah.
I love
we
it.
found
That's
it
great.
ourselves. So now I'm like, I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
So just quick.
We go to cities and literally
start
go
driving around
ourselves.
I mean, that's perfect.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest hurdle on a day-to-day basis for you guys? I mean, you're married, you got a business together, you're expanding. I mean, is that a lot of too much time together sometimes, not enough? I mean, how do you juggle that whole thing,
My biggest hurdle is work just gets in the way of golf too much.
There you go. Totally, right?
I'm leaving straight from here to go meet on the back nine with some friends.
Love it. There you go.
No, I mean...
We're creepy. We try together every single day for the last 8.5 years.
Like
but
all of our couple friends, like, how do you guys do it? Like we're together every day. We work together. We do everything. And we've been like that since the first day I met her. Really.
Love it. That's great.
But I don't know. I think
the hardest part is with the new locations. We're like, for the third one, for sure, we can't be going back and forth as much as we were. It was so exhausting.
And that's a big leap of faith, right? To hire somebody to run your baby,
Bringing on corporate staff is much different than bringing on like day-to-day in the bar staff, which are just like the servers and things like that. So that's a completely different level, which we know we need.
Yeah.
So we're learning along the way also. And but again, we also only want people in our company that are going to carry that brand vibe.
So that's the culture.
That company culture is big for us. And I think, every day, like you said, when you wake up, I feel like we've got a great team here. We've got a great team out in Napa that we fully trust that, that kind of have bought in and are starting to really get it.
Sure.
And know that, you could be, again, nothing against it, but you could be commuting an hour and a half to work each way to go work in some cubicle and everything like that. So I think getting people to appreciate that, and at least what we've tried to build is probably the biggest hurdle, is just making sure people know that, look, we'll do anything for them. But it's at the end of the day, it's that company culture is who defines Wine Girl and what we do.
Sure. Yeah. So interesting thing. So walk us through a journey, right? So I think a lot of people in Old Town are really familiar with you guys, without a doubt. I think as you get further out into Scottsdale, North Phoenix, whatever, I don't think they're quite as familiar. So can you kind of explain to them? I mean, I've been there, so I could, but you guys own it. What's the vibe? What do people do? How do they approach Wine Girl? I mean, is it before dinner, after dinner? Is it a Sunday fun day? How do you roll?
I'm going to say all that, but I would definitely say, if you're doing the standpoint of like when we are busiest, I'd say we actually do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, daytime.
Okay.
So like daytime wine drinking.
Yeah, basically Thursday through Sunday is one type of Wine Girl in Old Town. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is the other. So we have some fun events on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, mainly geared towards locals because
wine tasting. We do half off bottles Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, so we really try, and we're going to really start to tackle that a little bit more to build that side of the business, because so many people, and we've heard it, we'll be up in the quarter or out in Biltmore, and I always wear Wine Girl stuff. So people are like,
what is that?
What do you work there? It's like, well, we own Wine Girl. And they go, oh my God, we'd love to go, but it's so busy. And it's like, well, if you go on the weekends, it's probably going to be crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, we are in the heart of Old Town.
And loud.
So everywhere in Old Town,
Yeah.
it's busy and everything. And it's loud.
Fun, but loud.
Yeah. It's just a completely different experience than if you went on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes Thursdays. But I think we try to be as approachable to everybody, but like she said, on the weekends, I think anybody just walking down, the entertainment district, even
Scottsdale Road is crazy. Every
it's
week.
like you're in Old Town, so
it
it's like the entertainment area of Scottsdale. So you can't expect to just go in on a Saturday and have some peaceful time. Sometimes you can, but
but people just hear your name and think whatever they want to think. So some people might come in and think it's strictly like a classic wine bar,
right?
Or we've gotten Yelp reviews that were like, it was such a limited food menu. We're like, we're a bar. Our name is bar in it. But they just because
they think we're a
restaurant.
The review thing sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Always kills us. But but again, you try. I mean, we don't like bad reviews by any means, but we know you can't please everybody. We're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, which is totally fine. But some of the things that you get bad reviews are that we view as controllable. That's when we have issues. So.
Oh, of course. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the problem is probably 90% of people that are happy are not going to leave a review.
That's exactly the point.
The 5 ladies or people that were ticked off, it's like, you should have been there in the first place.
I know, it's so frustrating.
So talk about the food a little bit. So you guys have a limited menu, right? Just kind of complimentary with wine.
I think we do have a fun little menu, but it's just, some people think we're a restaurant. We're like, well, we're not. So
totally.
You're not coming in for dinner.
Right.
We have wood-fired pizzas, charcuterie boards, some dips, and we just launched. We don't have a full kitchen,
right?
So it was really exciting. I've wanted to do it for 2 years, but staffing with a cook during COVID was really hard.
Sure.
And like our girls right now, our servers make our charcuterie boards and dips. So on the weekends we have a cook, and we finally launched a light brunch menu.
Sure.
It's like toast flights. So we have
that's kind of cool. Toast flights.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
You can get single toast, or you can do a toast flight, and we do like avocado toast.
I think it's perfect for our customers, though, too, because I mean, let's face it, we're 95% women that come to Wine Girl. And women eat lighter, and they love the toast flights. It's something that
we just don't have a full kitchen, so it was an attainable, cute, cool thing we could do, and they're really good.
Totally. Well, I love it, guys. I mean, thanks so much. So again, it's Amy and Trevor, Wine Girl, right here in Old Town. Tell everybody how to find you, online, Instagram, all that kind of crazy stuff.
Just at Wine Girl Scottsdale. That's our Scottsdale location. At Wine Girl Napa Valley. At Wine Girl next city, which we're not going to announce, but we have signed our third lease. But we will be announcing that one in about 6 to 8 weeks. So we're excited about that.
Cool. Yeah. So make sure to check it out. Right here in Old Town, right on Scottsdale Road. It's a ton of fun, right? So you can't go wrong. And I appreciate you guys being here so much.
Yeah,
thanks for having us. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Thank you.